I'm gonna be reading Fandom Crisis by Mr. Boltitude. Um, I'm not gonna do it in a silly voice. So, Nynx's nightmare. Nynx ran. She had been running as fast and as hard as she could. The sound of hoofbeats behind her rang in her ears. Tears streamed down her face. Foam lined her sides. She couldn't let anything stop her. It was right behind her. She was out of breath. Her chest was on fire. That was it. She was doomed. When the hoofbeats disappeared, she dared to look behind her. The monster that was chasing her had vanished. The scared little filly wandered through the wasteland. Her night black coat was matted and ruffled. Her wings were beaten, her feathers torn. The alicorn struggled to regain her strength. She took in her surroundings. The land was barren and scorched. The sky was blood and red and boiling. There wasn't any sign of life, only black rocks, contrasting by a forest of sickly white dead trees. She stopped at the base of the largest tree she could find. There was something familiar about this dead lump of wood. When she'd realized where she was, and her heart stopped. This was the library. She was home. Everything was gone. She wanted to collapse. She wanted this to end. Then one of the trees moved. Nynx looked up. How could one of these trees move? They were petrified, hard as stone. Am I recording? Yes, I'm recording. Hard as stone. And besides that, there wasn't any wind. A tree moved again. The tree moved again. With growing terror, Nynx realized it wasn't a tree. It was a stallion, an impossibly tall stallion. His skin was deathly pale. He wore a tattered black suit and red tie. He had no face. This was the evil that had been chasing her. It walked slowly towards her. She was frozen in place. It grew nearer and nearer. Pressure was growing in her head. With each of its steps, the pounding grew worse in her skull. She had to move. Move, feet, darn it, move! Her thoughts screamed. Finally, her hooves obeyed. She sprinted away, desperately looking for some kind of safety. She ran into a little grove of the skeletal trees. She slowed. The pressure was less intense now. She looked back. The tall pony was a dot on the horizon. She sighed in relief, and she turned back. When she turned back, the sight she saw nearly stopped her heart. The tall pony was right in front of her. She bolted in the opposite direction. It stopped out from behind a tree in her path. She turned the other way. There he was again. No matter where she ran, he was there. He just kept running. She just kept running. It was all she could do now. Her hoof caught on a rock, sending her tumbling. She tried desperately to regain her footing, but it was too late. The tall pony was right on top of her. The pressure was unbearable. She was afraid her head would pop. The tall pony raised its hoof to strike. The little filly closed her eyes and screamed, "Twilight!" Nyx woke up, screaming instantly. She was surrounded by warm lavender fur. "Shh, everything's okay now. Okay, I'm right here," came the most comforting voice in the world. Nyx looked up into the loving purple eyes of her adopted mother. The purple unicorn smiled back at her. Twilight Sparkle had been there the whole time, cradling Nyx in her fitful sleep. "Mama, it was terrible. It felt real," Nyx sobbed. "But it's over now," Twilight comforted. She nuzzled Nynx's forehead. "Come on, you want some warm milk?" Nynx gave a little nod. Twilight lit a candle as they walked downstairs to the kitchen. She put a pan of milk on the stove. "Let's let that heat up for a minute. Now, did you have the same dream from before?" "Almost. There was more this time. I found the library in the wasteland, but it was burned like everything else. It gets worse every night." Nynx hung her head and whimpered. "Hey now, chin up, missy." Twilight used her magic to levitate the pan and poured herself and Nynx 2 steamy mugs of milk. "Here, maybe this will help calm your mind." Nynx and Twilight sat in silence, sipping their milk. A light rain pitter-pattered against the window. Combined with the milk and the cradle light, it had a very soothing effect. Nynx found her eyelids growing heavy. Nynx licked the last drop out of her cup. She accidentally let a little burp slip out. "Excuse me. Thank you, Twilight." "No problem, Nynx. Now go wait for me upstairs and I'll read you a story," Twilight said. Nynx's face lit up. If there was one thing she loved, it was for Twilight to read her bedtime stories. She scampered up the stairs. Twilight smiled at the sight. Then she practically collapsed on the table and groaned. A small purple dragon poked his head in from the hall. Ninks have another nightmare? Asked Spike. You should be asleep, Twilight said. You woke me up. Now I believe I asked a question. Twilight sighed. Yes, she says they're getting worse. She rubbed her temples to fight on an oncoming headache. It's been over a week, Twilight. Shouldn't we be getting some help? I thought I was hoping I could find a solution on my own, but I've tried just about everything in my psychology books. Well, except for the mild delve, but that's not ever going to be an option for her. So what are we going to do? I'll try. I'll write Celestia in the morning, even if she personally can't help. She'll know some pony that can. Twilight put the mugs and the pan in the sink. She let out a long yawn and heads towards the stairs. Go back to bed, Spike. I'm gonna read Nink's real quick. You know, Twilight, there's one pony who is guaranteed to help us. Twilight stopped her in place. You mean him? Who else? I'd prefer he stayed away from Ninks. Wherever he goes, trouble follows. Asher is a dork. Millions of miles away, and thousands of years in the past, a wooden blue box drifted past a crystal moon. Scholars of mid-20th century British history could recognize it as a police call box, and they would be wrong. The box was really an alien spaceship, vastly bigger on the inside, disguised as a police box. Inside, the brown stallion frantically flipped switches on the control console. A gray Pegasus with a blonde mane and a cutie mark for bubbles on her flank watched as the pony practically sprinted around the room. Doctor, what's going on? She asked. The stallion stopped for a moment. The phase drivers are acting up again, Derpy. If I can't correct them, the whole TARDIS might. There was a ghastly grinding noise, and everything started to shake. Electrical energy surged from throughout the room. A little unicorn filly stumbled into the control room. The static in the room caused her short yellow mane to stand on end. What's going on, Mom? Nothing, Dinky. Daddy's just trying to fix the TARDIS, Derpy answered. Well, this can only end well, Dinky said sarcastically. She found the nearest seat with a harness and buckled up. The doctor hurriedly turned knobs and pressed buttons. It's okay, I got this, he assured. Suddenly, a huge jolt nearly sent him and Derpy flying across the ship. I don't got this. I get ready for a crash landing. Again, Derpy and Dinky sighed. Brooms and feather dusters floated through the air, suspended in a magical aura. They flitted around the main hall of the library, cleaning away the dust off the bookshelves and the furniture. Both Twilight and Spike were sleeping in, so Nyx had decided to surprise them and clean up the library. She was having trouble focusing, however, she couldn't go too fast, or else she might lose control and break something. But she really wanted to finish before Twilight woke up. She decided to stop and take a water break. She surveyed her work. She surveyed her work. She had gotten more done than she had at first thought. She took a big gulp and used her magic to pick up the brooms. Nynx had just put the finishing touches on the room when she noticed something odd. A slight breeze blew through the library, but Nynx hadn't opened any windows. A light appeared for a split second in the hall. Then it appeared again, accompanied by a strange grinding noise. The wind grew stronger, blowing the books off their shelves and nearly knocking Nynx off her hooves. A big blue box appeared, and out of thin air, Nynx hid behind a table. She shakily held a broom for protection. She dared peek at the strange object. It had doors and windows like some kind of house. There were words written on the top of it. Police public call box. Let's see. The doors on the box swung open. Thick black smoke billowed out. A brown pony with a spiky mane and an hourglass cutie mark stumbled out of the box. He wheezed and coughed. Wow. Excuse me. Who are you? How did you get in here? Nix demanded. The strange pony struggled to get his breath between coughs. Cough, hack, ugh. Yes, hello, I'm the doctor. This is the TARDIS. It brought me here. Nynx thought his accent sounded funny. Twilight ran into the room. Nynx, what's going on? Are you... She stopped when she saw the blue box in the soot-covered stallion. Oh, speak of the devil, she groaned. Twilight Sparkle, I see I've crashed into your library again, the doctor exclaimed. Wait, you know him, Mama? Nynx asked. I used to travel with him in that box, Twilight answered. In that little box? Nynx asked. Hold on a minute. Did she say Mama? Since when do you have a daughter? The doctor asked, bewildered. Just then a wall-eyed Pegasus and a dark lavender filly tumbled out of the TARDIS. Nynx cocked her head. She thought she recognized these two. The Pegasus looked like the town mail mare, and the filly was her daughter. Dinky, is that you? She asked the filly. The little unicorn regained her breath. Hey, Nynx, how have you been? Wait, you know her? The doctor asked. Yeah, we go to school together, Dinky answered. I didn't know you were traveling with a doctor, Derpy, said Twilight. Well, of course I travel with my husband, silly. Twilight was blindsided. Husband? Excuse me, Twilight. Excuse me, Twilight has a daughter. How am I the only one not to know about this? The doctor demanded. Derpy rubbed her brow with her hoof. Sweetie, remember when I asked you to go get juice? The doctor smiled sheepishly. One day, Derpy had sent him shopping. He had hopped on the TARDIS to surprise her with some rare Venusian beaver juice. Apparently, something went wrong with his steering, and when he returned, he found he had been gone for over a year. How many times do I have to say I'm sorry? And the juice was pretty good, you'd have to admit. Derpy gave him a dirty look. A quite impressive feat when your eyes look in two different ways. Ahem, right. Hello, Nynx, was it? The doctor greeted. Hello, Doctor. Hello, Mr. Doctor, Nynx said cheerfully, yet confused. Please, just the doctor. Now let's have a look at you. The doctor began prodding Nynx with his hoof. Right, black coat, purple mane. I don't think I've ever seen eyes like yours on a pony before. They're so very green. He spun her around. He spun her around and examined her flank. Your cutie mark seems to be a shield. What's that mean? Twilight says it means my special talent is protecting other ponies, Nynx explained. Oh, that's the fun job. Believe me, I should know, the doctor said. Only a problem is someone somewhere is always in trouble. He poked the horn on her forehead. Ah, a unicorn, just like your mother. Doctor, her sides, Twilight pointed out. What about her wings? You're an alicorn, Nynx, the doctor exclaimed. Twilight, who did you have this child with? She's my adopted daughter. How did she end up with you? It's a long story. Time's not an issue for me. That's funny. I see what you did there. And again, husband. Again, husband, Twilight exclaimed. Spike ran in from upstairs. What's all the racket? He eyed the newcomers and their box. That is the wrong there. Okay. It's... Oh, it's the doctor. Wake me up when the monsters or the robots or whatever show up, Spike said as he turned back upstairs. Nynx rummaged through her closet. The adults had sent her and Dinky to play while she made tea in the kitchen. She moved a few boxes and found her old checker set. She carefully picked it up and blew the dust off the box. Do you like checkers? It's okay, I guess. So I have some questions, Nynx said as she put up the board. Fire away. What's that blue box thingy, and who's that brown stallion without any sense of personal space? Dinky chose to play as the red pieces. Her horn lit up as she made her first move. That brown stallion is my dad. The blue box is his spaceship and time machine. Nynx's jaw dropped. Spaceship and time machine. It's your turn. Nynx moved her checker piece. So your dad has a box that's really a spaceship, and you and your mom travel with him? Sometimes only if he thinks where he's going isn't dangerous. He's usually wrong about that though. It seems like it get cramped in there. It seems like it gets. I'll let you see the inside for yourself, Dinky said with a grin. They played for several more minutes. Dinky beat Nix pretty soundly. Nix couldn't wrap her mind around what had happened that morning. It had appeared right in front of her, but she still wasn't sure she wanted to believe in time. Traveling boxes. Even worse, Twilight had said she had traveled with Dinky's crazy father. That meant she had traveled through space and time. How could her mother have done something like that and never told her? Nix wasn't entirely sure she was awake. Maybe this was all just a very weird dream. Wait, where did your dad even get a time machine? Nix wondered. Well, he's a time lord. They're all about they're all about time machines. A time lord? Asked Nix. From the planet Gallifrey. I know I said that wrong. I know I said that wrong. Dinky explained. To her, this was like having to explain some pony what the ground was. Wait, so he's an alien? We prefer the term xeno-equestrian. Nix frowned. And now Dinky was just messing with her. Wonderful wannabe. Gonna say this here, Dr. Hooves should be from Gallop Free. Ah. Twilight served coffee and pastries. Derpy nearly exploded with the joy of the sight of a plate full of blueberry muffins. The way she gobbled them down frightened Twilight. The doctor had wished Twilight had served tea, but he decided not to look the gift horse in the mouth. So you two are married, huh? Twilight asked as she took a sip from her teacup. Fortunately, she hadn't allowed her coffee enough time to cool, and she'd burned her lip. She put a napkin to her mouth, and she did her best to appear nonchalant. Derpy took hold of the doctor's hoof. He blushed. Yep, nothing brings two ponies together like stopping a meep invasion, she said. Well, I guess that explains where Dinky comes from, Twilight said. Derpy wrinkled her face. You mean you didn't know? No one knew, Twilight answered. Then she realized something. Hey, wait a minute. You've had Dinky way longer than I've known the doctor. Oh, Twilight, in here I thought you truly grasped the idea of time travel. The doctor giggled. Still, it's weird knowing your male mare and the guy you used to travel with are married and you knew nothing about it. Yes, well, speaking of not knowing things, let's talk about Nynx, said the doctor expectantly. Twilight blew on her cup. She carefully took a sip. She closed her eyes and took a deep, calming breath. It all started about a year and a half ago. A crazy cult kidnapped and dragged me out to the Everfree Forest. They wanted to use a drop of my blood in a spell designed to resurrect Nightmare Moon. Oh, okay. Oh my, you mean Princess Luna's evil persona? As in separate from Luna? The doctor asked. Yes, but Celestia found me in time and managed to stop the spell halfway through. But the other half of the spell was already in effect, and Nynx was the result. Twilight explained. So the cult succeeded in bringing Nightmare Moon back, but they brought her back as a scared little filly with no memory of her past. That is awesome. So how did you wind up as her mother? I had dropped my saddlebags in the wood that night, and when I came back the next morning, I found her trapped in a bush, so I took her home, cleaned her, bandaged her. Cuts, Twilight said. She stared into her cup. The memories of those early days flooded her head. They made her feel warm and giddy. I've been doing my best to take care of her ever since. Twilight helped herself to a cookie. They sat in silence for a few minutes more, chewing at their treats. Derpy started to get antsy. Twilight, tell the rest of the story, Derpy complained. I don't think the doctor really needs to worry about that. Twilight had told him everything she felt he needed to know about Nynx's origins. The doctor was the last pony she wanted to a doubt have a doubt about her. But she saved Dinky and me from a monster, Derpy pleaded. Twilight groaned. Derpy wasn't going to let this go very easily. Go very easily. Where was I? Okay, doctor, all you need to know is that Nynx is my daughter and she's the sweetest filly in the world. But Derpy tried to reason. The doctor cut her off. Muffin, let's not pressure poor Twilight here. I can go back and check for myself later. Okay, Derpy relented. Thank you, Derpy, Twilight said. She was about to take another sip when a thought occurred to her, one she wasn't sure she liked. She had planned to ask Celestia for help with Nynx, but there was the doctor back in her life. If any pony could help Nynx with her problem, he could. Unfortunately, it seemed any time the doctor became involved in anything, things would always take a turn for the worse. And ridiculous. She sighed. Against her better judgment. Ooh. Funny words. Twilight decided it was worth the risk. Actually, doctor, there is one more thing you should know about. Oh? Well, for the past week, she's been having very vivid nightmares, and they get worse, each night, she explained. Well, I might have a solution for that, the doctor said. Really? One that isn't dangerous? Twilight asked cautiously. Oh, no, we just need to take her to the Singing Lakes. If you spend the night there, you'll sleep peacefully for the next 2 years. I've never heard of that place. Where is it? It's up north. It's north up the mountains, just a few miles outside of Canterlot. Well, that doesn't sound so bad. And 10,000 years in the future. Please, no TARDIS rides, Doctor, Twilight said angrily. It's not dangerous. Is what you say right before the monsters show up. Derpy scarfed down her last muffin. She always felt a slight sense of loss whenever she reached the last muffin. Don't worry, Twilight. The doctor doesn't go to dangerous places while Dinky's on board. Never takes me anywhere. Fun is more like it, Dinky mumbled as she and Nynx trotted down the stairs. They had been eavesdropping for quite a while now. Nynx tugged at Twilight's tail. Mama, can he really help with the nightmares? Twilight grinned. Nynx couldn't help but notice how tired she looked. Doctor, Twilight began. Can I talk with Nynx in private for a bit? Right, I need to fix the TARDIS phase drivers anyways. The doctor ran inside his box and returned with Derpy's saddlebag. Here, honey, take Dinky and get some more muffins. He is such a good father. Derpy was nearly jumping with excitement. She kissed the doctor on the cheek and then grabbed Dinky Doo and ran out the front door. Wow, thought Nynx. That mare really likes muffins. The doctor braved the smoke and ventured back to the TARDIS. They were alone now. Twilight took another sip of coffee. Do you really want to go with him? She asked. I think we both want a full night's rest, Nynx answered. Boy, that was true. Twilight looked out the window. The sunlight gently streamed into the room. She closed her eyes and tried to gather her thoughts. Why didn't you tell me you traveled with the doctor? I honestly didn't think he'd ever come back. You said stuff about danger and monsters. Twilight took another sip. I did. Is the doctor a bad pony? Is he dangerous? Nynx didn't look like the idea of her mother zipping around the universe with a bad pony. No, he's a very good pony. He tries to help every pony he meets, but the problem is he helps ponies that are usually very big and dangerous. And they usually shoot lasers. Twilight gulped down the last of her coffee. That's why I didn't want you to know about him. If you did, you would probably want to go with him. Nynx scratched her forehead and thought, I don't know whether that makes me mad or thankful. It was probably wrong of me to keep it a secret from you, and I'm sorry. Like I said, I didn't think I would ever have to deal with it. The doctor poked his head out of the TARDIS. All right, are you done? Because I just finished in here. Turns out a potato crisp got stuck in one of the actuators. We're done, Doctor. We can leave as soon as Derpy and Dinky get back, Twilight said. Nynx's eyes went wide and she smiled. Mm. Why are people trying to message me? I don't want to be messaged right now. Okay. Ah. Derpy and Dinky returned about an hour later. Muffin crumbs adorned their lips. They were content. Nynx had packed her saddlebags. She didn't know what lay ahead of her, but if she needed a scarf or sunglasses, she was ready. She stood in the front of the TARDIS door. She gathered her courage and walked inside. Then she ran back out. She checked around all the walls outside the box. This was impossible. It had to be some kind of trick. There was no way this thing could be bigger on the inside. All the other ponies giggled. I love it whenever they see the inside for the first time, Derpy grinned. They all went inside the box. Uh, Nynx, a little slower than the rest, they entered a large, roughly circular control room. Several big screens lined the walls, displaying complicated graphs and charts. A large glass cylinder sat in the center of the room. Gears and motors whirled within. A mess of levers, buttons, and switches surrounded the base of the cylinder. The whole room was bathed in soft orange and blue lights. This was crazy, Nynx thought. That should have been in italics. Okay, never mind. Twilight looked around the room. The doctor had redecorated. Wait, were they forgetting something? Oh my gosh, we almost forgot Spike. Hold on a second, doctor. Twilight ran up to the bedroom. Spike was napping in his little bed. Twilight giggled when she saw he was drooling. He gave him a gentle nudge. Spike, come on. We're going with the doctor. Spike rubbed his eyes. Ugh, count me out. You sure? Last time I went with the doctor, I nearly had my brain put into a giant robot scorpion. So please, let me get back to sleep. Twilight returned to the TARDIS. The Doctor was wildly pulling levers on the control panel. Dinky was showing Nynx around the place. Twilight didn't ever think she would return here. Now, if we're all ready, the Doctor said as he flipped a red switch, the engines roared to life. There we go. The ship gave a gentle shake. Did we take off? Nynx asked. We're already there, the doctor answered. Outside, you'll find yourself 10,000 years in the future. Equestrian's golden age. The most peaceful and advanced period in your planet's history. Go on, take a look. Nynx bounded for the exit. She opened the door and stepped out. Seconds later, everyone in the room heard a horrible scream. Twilight raced towards her daughter. Whoa. Everyone else followed. Outside the TARDIS was a wasteland. The ground was scorched and the sky was red. The smell of sulfur hung heavy in the air. The doctor's jaw dropped. Nynx started to hyperventilate. She was starting to cry. Twilight embraced her in her forelegs. This is the place, Nynx said. This is the place for my dreams. It's real. Away, in a forest of dead and whitened trees, a tall, faceless pony in a black suit stood unnoticed. It silently watched the pony party, the little party. And that concludes chapter 1. Subscribe to hear the next one, and I have no other comments, so I'm just going to awkwardly press my little button here. Boop.